All right, so let's jump right in. Welcome to another deep dive. And today we're going deep into Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind. Um,
Ooh, exciting.
yeah, I'm excited about this one. This is one I've been wanting to do for a while, and we've got the
Appreciate.
book, obviously. And we're going to be looking at, way more than just the plot. We're going to be talking about all the big ideas that are kind of like beneath the surface.
Yeah, the
The
themes.
themes, exactly.
And Rothfuss, I think, from the very first page, plays with us a little bit
Mhm.
because he frames the story with Kvothe recounting his life
Right,
to the chronicler.
right.
So you, as the reader, are immediately faced with this question of, like, how reliable is this guy?
Yeah, how much can we trust Kvothe? I mean, he's telling us his story, but like,
Yeah.
is he kind of, is he making himself look better or?
Is he shaping the
Yeah,
narrative
yeah,
to
yeah, exactly.
serve
It
himself?
makes you think about memory, right?
Yeah.
And how we remember things.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, how accurate are our own memories? I know mine aren't always perfect.
Well, and especially as time passes.
Yeah.
Right? You look back on things and maybe you see them differently than you did at the time.
And I think Rothfuss, he's like, he knows that, right? He's kind of like playing with that idea. Like he's making us think about those things on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the very first page, he's like, hey, reader, don't just believe everything you read.
Right. Be a critical reader. Be a skeptical reader.
Yes, exactly.
And that kind of self-awareness, that questioning of truth, of perspective, that's woven throughout the whole book, really.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's not just about whether we can trust Kvothe or not. It's also about like how much our own stories, the way we tell them, how much that influences like what we believe.
Oh, absolutely. The way we choose to frame our experiences, it shapes how we understand them.
Right.
And that connects to some really fundamental philosophical questions, I think, like about the nature of truth. Is there one objective truth? Or are there multiple valid interpretations?
I mean, it's a big question, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, Rothfuss has created this world in the name of the wind, and it's so detailed.
So intricate.
Yeah, yeah, it feels so real. Like you would think there would be one truth in that world.
Right. And that's where the magic system comes in, I think, sympathy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sympathy. How does that connect?
So this isn't your typical magic system, right? It's not just waving a wand and muttering a spell. This magic is about the power of language. It's about the idea that names hold inherent power.
Right, right. Like when Kvothe shapes the wind by calling on its true name.
Exactly. I mean, that scene is so powerful, and it's Rothfuss echoing this philosophical concept of nominalism.
Nominalism, what's that?
So in a nutshell, nominalism is the idea that language shapes reality, that the words we use, the names we give things, they actually have power to influence the world around us.
Wow. So it's not just that Kvothe is learning magic, he's also learning how to use language to, like, actually shape the world.
Exactly. And that, I think, is where the philosophical depth really starts to come in.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces kind of fit together. Like, Kvothe's journey, it's not just about adventures or magic, it's about, like, knowledge itself, like
Yeah.
the pursuit of understanding.
And that connects to some classic philosophical questions about epistemology.
Epistemology?
So epistemology is all about how we know what we know. What are the sources of knowledge? How can we be sure that something is true?
Right, right.
And Kvothe, he's obsessed with understanding the world, but he's also constantly making mistakes, misinterpreting situations.
Being impulsive, right?
He is.
Yeah.
And that makes us question, are there limits to what we can know?
Yeah.
How do our own biases, our experiences, influence our understanding of the world?
That's a good point. And speaking of Kvothe, I mean, he is such a fascinating character. Like,
Mm.
on the one hand, you have this prodigy, right? Like, he's brilliant, he's talented, but on the other hand, he's also flawed. He's impulsive, he can be reckless.
He makes some pretty questionable choices sometimes.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. And I think that's what makes him so interesting because he's not a perfect hero. He's very human.
Yeah, and his struggles with identity, morality, the consequences of his choices, I think all of this connects to some pretty big existentialist ideas.
Like what kind of ideas?
Well, like free will.
Okay.
Do we really have control over our own destinies?
Right.
Personal responsibility. How much are we accountable for our actions, even when things go wrong?
Yeah. Kvothe is constantly faced with these really difficult choices, and every choice he makes kind of shapes who he becomes.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, are we all just the sum of our choices?
Right, right. And then we see like how those choices weigh on him
Right.
as he gets older. There's this really striking contrast between young Kvothe, who's so full of like fire and ambition.
Idealistic.
Yeah, idealistic. And then the older Kvothe, the one who's telling the story, who seems much more, world-weary and jaded.
Like, has experience made him cynical?
Yeah, yeah. And it kind of makes you wonder, is that just like a natural part of life? Like, do we all kind of start out idealistic, and then as we experience more of the world, do we become more disillusioned?
It's a pretty common theme in literature, right?
Yeah.
The loss of innocence, the a gain of wisdom, but at what cost?
Yeah.
It's something I think we all grapple with in our own lives.
Definitely. And, I think what makes The Name of the Wind so great is that it's not just about the literal events, right? It's like Rothfuss has packed in all these layers of meaning,
Hmm.
metaphors, symbolism. Like he's inviting us to interpret the story on like multiple levels.
Oh, absolutely. It's a book that rewards close reading. And he's touched on some pretty universal themes, too. Love, loss, the power of stories, all these things that connect to some fundamental philosophical questions about what it means to be human.
Like, what does it mean to really love someone?
Yeah, and how do we cope with grief, with trauma?
Why are we so drawn to stories?
Why are they so powerful?
Yeah. It seems like The Name of the Wind is so much more than just a fantasy epic, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a philosophical exploration of like what it means to be human.
Absolutely. It's a book that stays with you long after you finish reading it. And I think Rothfuss leaves us with so much to ponder.
Yeah.
As you continue reading, ask yourself, what resonates with you most strongly?
Hmm.
How do these themes connect to your own experiences, your own beliefs?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Really makes you think. Well, this has been amazing. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive into The Name of the Wind. And to everyone listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. What are your interpretations?
Yeah, what parts of the book, made you think? What questions did it raise for you?
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those philosophical gears turning.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.